The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, thanks for coming back to Doing It with Stiles this week. I've got a really woo-woo guest on today. And I say that with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek because Serena is a hypnotist.
Yes.
And you are also a practitioner of NLP.
Correct.
And NLP is?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay. And for all of you old hippies like myself, you'll know what that is. And for those of you who don't, we'll get into that in just a little bit. But Serena, so tell me, what is it that you really do? I mean, you have a business.
I do.
Okay, and what is that business?
So my business, the name of my business is Limitless Hypnosis.
Okay.
And I do all things hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and of course NLP. So any problem that you have that you know that it's the things that you do that you wish you didn't do, but you don't know how to not do them. Whether that's smoking, whether it's being sad, having anxiety, whatever that is, and you've been trying to figure out rationally or wrap your brain around, why can't I just change my behavior? Why can't I just change this? But it doesn't change. When you tap into the unconscious mind with hypnosis and some of my bag of tricks, change can actually happen really fast.
I like
really
that,
easy.
bag of tricks. So you have a bag of tricks.
I do have a bag of tricks.
Cool. Okay.
Yes.
And we've all seen the stage hypnotists.
Yes.
And we've all seen Vincent Price and all of the old movies about, I'm going to let you hypnotize me and you're going to make me go out and kill somebody or jump off a cliff or,
Right.
Go crazy. So can you dispel some of the myths about hypnosis?
I can. So I'm going to say what is happening first, and hopefully that will
please.
explain what's not or
Please.
what wouldn't happen. So I think a lot of people have a secret desire to maybe be a movie star or a singer or things like that. And that's why karaoke can be quite popular with a
Right.
lot of people, for example. Now,
But the thing is that most of the people at karaoke can't sing worth a damn.
but they're living out a fantasy
I'm
that
sorry.
they can,
No,
right?
no,
Okay. So when it comes to stage hypnosis, two things are happening. First of all, there's 25% of the population that are what we would call highly suggestible, right? And they just go a little bit easier, quicker, deeper than the other people. Everybody can be hypnotized, just so you know, but some people do go a little bit easier, quicker, and deeper. Now, all hypnosis really is going from a beta brainwave state down to either alpha or theta. So we all go down through those slowing the brainwaves down every night on the way to sleep, and then come back up when we wake up. Okay. Hypnosis is any of the alpha or theta states.
Gotcha.
If you're sleeping, you're not in hypnosis. So people think that they're going to come see me and I'm going to put them to sleep and read them some nice, great words, and they're going to wake up and everything will be different. You're always awake. You always hear what I'm saying.
And I was going to say, I've been under a couple of times, so I'm aware that you are always aware of what's going on and your surrounding and what's happening.
Right. So in stage hypnosis, people are really getting down to that theta brainwave state. Now, there's another group of people who are in theta a lot of the time, and that would be your 4 and 5-year-olds who live in a world of pretend and magic and make-believe, right? So they're in this world of make-believe, and for them, that's about as real as peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, yeah. No, and
Right?
that's the cool thing
And
about it.
they just flow in
And
and
the sense
out
of wonder that they
right,
have, because everything they're experiencing
it just is
new.
like real for them. We can't really interface with that
Right.
the way that they do. So when people are in stage hypnosis, they're going back to that theta brainwave state, being very much like a 4 or 5-year-old, and they're just living in this world of make-believe and pretend, and it feels so great and so fun that they just want to do it, just like a 4-year-old loves playing pretend.
Yes.
So it's not that they're doing something, they're not being made to do something they don't want to do. They have all these, we loved playing pretend, we wanted to be a superhero, we wanted to be a singer, we want to be an actress, we want to be a fireman. And being in that brainwave state, even up on stage, gives them permission to now relive all of that.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas when we're in beta, we're very much in our conscious mind, and we're judging ourselves. So that's stupid, that's embarrassing, that's dumb, I would never do that. And in that state, you give yourself permission. Now, that being said, those are things that they would want and enjoy to do, but it's not something against their actual moral code.
Right. So it's, and that's what I've always heard, is that a hypnotist cannot make you do something that you wouldn't normally do.
True.
And maybe,
or at least that you
had
would
an
normally
inclination
do,
to.
but you secretly have a desire to
Gotcha.
do. And maybe you're just monitoring your
well,
behavior.
and that's what I was going to say. The key word is normally.
Right. So, or at least normally want to do.
Right.
So, for example, if I hypnotize someone to go out and rob a bank and bring me all the money, they're not going to do that, especially if it's against their moral code to rob
Unless
a
they
bank.
already wanted to go rob a bank.
Unless they already, but
And
then
then
they
they
wouldn't
could
want to
blame
give
it
the
on
money
you.
to.
Yeah,
They wouldn't
no,
want to
no.
give the money to me,
Yeah,
though,
I
would they? So I actually saw this on stage one time. There was a nurse, and he was part of our class, and part of the skit was that they were smoking a joint and passing it down. Well, as a nurse in real life, you can't get high because you can be tested any time.
Right.
And he just simply passed it to the next person, even though he was deeply entranced.
Wow. That's freaky.
Yeah, so it went against his moral code.
Excuse me. So
Bless you.
what are the, if there are any, what are the dangers in hypnosis to the person being put under and the person doing the hypnosis?
Okay, so there's no danger that you're going to stay in hypnosis.
Okay.
No one's ever been admitted to the emergency room for, terminal,
ODing on.
for not coming out of
Right.
hypnosis. One of two things will happen. You'll either just go to sleep, and then when you wake up, you'll not be in hypnosis, or you'll just spontaneously emerge from hypnosis. So there's no risk of getting stuck in hypnosis or anything like that. With hypnotherapy, what popped up in my head was, you do want to make sure that you're in the hands of a skilled hypnotherapist.
Right.
So I always say you can't open Pandora's box without knowing how to resolve what you've brought to the surface. So hypnotherapy goes a lot deeper than just hypnotism, because
Okay.
you're actually, you're dealing with those deep, sometimes traumas, emotional issues, things that
So
have
there
happened.
is a difference.
There
There
is-
is a different class or classification, or in other words,
The lines are blurred a bit.
Okay.
The lines are probably
I mean,
blurred
do
a
you
bit.
practice just hypnosis or do you practice hypnotherapy?
I practice hypnotherapy.
Okay.
And so that's, hypnosis is one of those tricks in my bag
In
of
your bag,
tricks.
okay.
Hypnosis is wonderful because it basically, if you've got your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, which is, of course is way bigger, smarter, and
Right.
running the show, and you got this thing in between called the critical factor.
Right.
Okay. What hypnosis does is it allows that door to open so that we can now communicate with our unconscious mind.
Gotcha.
Okay, so some NLP techniques don't technically require hypnosis, but people may feel more comfortable using symbolic processes and going through some of these processes if they're just relaxed a little bit to where they have more open communication with their unconscious mind.
So do, and you mentioned NLP again, that are they interdependent, or in other words, is NLP dependent on hypnosis or hypnotherapy, or is it standalone and in some cases can and should be combined?
So they both are independent, but they work really well together. It's like a
Okay.
hand in a glove.
It's
okay?
just, it's two different factors that when you put them together, you get a little more synergy, or
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, I mean, we were discussing NLP briefly before. So there's a couple ways that I explain NLP. I call it NLP awake hypnosis,
okay,
because we were talking about how we want to converse with that subconscious mind and how that critical factor is in the way. So hypnosis is one way to open that door to allow us to communicate. But in my opinion, NLP kind of comes in the back door. The reason is because you're not trying to get that critical factor out of, you're not trying to send it
Right.
for a hike or a nap. You're just using the language of the unconscious mind, which is not rational. It's not verbal. You're using symbolism, emotion, pictures and movies, and your critical factor doesn't really know what's going on because it's not logical. So it actually works to make deep changes without hypnosis because you're circumventing the whole process. And the other thing, my personal humble opinion of NLP, because the gentleman Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who originally created NLP, they studied really, really good therapists who were magical at what they did. They just got these amazing results. And sometimes people are just naturals and they don't know how they do what they do.
Right.
They just do it,
They
right?
just do it,
So
yes.
they studied what they did. They broke it down systematically so that they could replicate it and then teach each other people. So NLP was started off by kind of looking at other people and borrowing, shall we say. So
There was a lot of that going on in
lot
the
of that.
60s and 70s. No, I mean, seriously, I mean, because at that particular time, there was a whole generation that was looking at consciousness and what was going on and what was real and what wasn't real, and so the whole drug culture
Right.
basically started from that kind of investigating and
Right.
searching, and so I think that yes, I look back now on some of the things that I've read, and it was like, okay, well, that's the same as this, and that's the same as this, and this one's saying that, and and it's like we all come at things, or we all get messages, if you want to call it that, or indications. Maybe I might get mine from this book, you might get yours from that book, but it's the same message.
right.
And so NLP is another way of doing that, is it not?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, kind of
so
pulling all that
they
crap together, and I don't mean crap, but you know what I
Well,
mean.
and that's what I say. They kind of cherry pick. So
Right.
NLPs continue to expand because people
Right.
have new ideas and they may see something that somebody else is doing. That person may or may not have called it NLP. And then they say, oh, but that's really amazing. And that works the same way NLP works. And then they cherry pick or, borrow it, put it under the umbrella that we now call NLP. So it's continued to grow and expand. And that's the wonderful thing about the creative unconscious mind is the sky's the limit. And when you're
Right.
tapping into the creative mind, you can use anything to make powerful changes because it doesn't depend on logic and rationale.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I like about it. So
I love it. And hypnosis being independent, I mean, traditional hypnosis is just put people deep and then you've got that door open and then you can give those direct suggestions. And, it's just simple, direct suggestion, repeated, can be very, very powerful.
So person comes to you and they want to quit smoking, and they don't know whether they're coming to you because you're a hypnotist, or because you're a hypnotherapist, or an NLPist. It's just, hey, I heard that you can help me quit smoking, or you
Right.
can help me lose weight, or you can help me quit biting my fingernails, or whatever, So how would you determine what tools or what tricks from your little bag you would use to help that individual?
Very good
if they don't know?
question. Very good question. So, when I was an emergency room nurse, imagine
See, I didn't know that about you.
I was a
Okay.
nurse. I was also in a helicopter for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, EMS flight nurse. So imagine 10 people present to the emergency room with abdominal pain.
Right.
Now, you could say, oh, abdominal pain equals appendicitis. No, abdominal pain could be an ulcer. It could be a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. It could be appendicitis. It could be, the
Exactly.
list goes on.
Right.
So the symptom may be the same, but the cause may be very different. So the most important part of what I do is a pretty lengthy interview and discovery process, because everybody's mind is a puzzle or riddle.
Okay.
And how we create a problem or experience a problem, there's a formula to it, okay? So first I may, think about this, and then it makes me feel like that, and then it reminds me about this time, and then I think X, Y, Z, and blah, blah, and there's a pattern to how your brain literally constructs that problem. That's
Right.
a good NLP. It's not about why, it's how your brain
Yeah.
does it. So I have to do, for some people it's relatively short, for other people it's very lengthy because there's a lot of pieces that have come together since you were 3 years old to construct this problem. And what may present with one person, for example, somebody's afraid of elevators.
Right.
Okay. Now, one person may have had a traumatic experience where they were trapped in an elevator. That's actually a really easy fix because you know what happened and you can use a couple of NLP tools, and it's you scrambled the eggs and the pictures and stuff in the mind, and it's super easy. But for some people, that symptom or that fear is actually more of a metaphor that's being presented to them by their deep subconscious mind. So they may be afraid of, something else completely, afraid of death that's related to control, and they don't feel in control in the elevator, but that takes a lot more discovery. So if they don't have that obvious,
or confined spaces, or
right, or afraid of flying, or so sometimes it can be really simple, and then sometimes there's a lot more to it. So you can't just want to wave that magic wand. You've really got to find out what's going on with that person individually, and that's where the hypnotherapy comes in.
How do you know if the person is being honest with you and not just saying the first thing that pops into their head? Of course, if they're saying the first thing that pops into their head, that's probably
that probably is honest. If you ask enough questions enough different ways, they can't really fake it. And most of the time, by the time people choose to come see me, that faking it, I mean, it may be a habit that they can't break.
Exactly, and that was my point, because I know, how different people deal with PTSD takes on many different forms.
Right.
And it's and I know in my own case, when I first started going to the VA, I mean, it took 40 years for me to admit that that's what was wrong with me.
Wow.
And so my first reaction always was, anytime you go to the VA for any kind of an appointment, they're always asking you, how you doing? How you feeling? Are you depressed? Are you, and it's as a Marine, you're always taught, no, I'm cool. It's all good. Yeah, no.
Boys don't cry.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. And so, how are you sleeping? Oh, just fine. Do you have any stress? Oh, no, it's all good. And so we build up these defenses because that's how we're coping. That's how we are able to leave our house.
Right, how you get through the day.
Exactly.
How you don't completely fall apart.
Right.
And it is, you are coping the best way you know how.
Right.
And it's working to a point, And when that's working and you just can't prop that up anymore, that's when you finally
it's like,
help.
Okay, now I know when I go to the movies, I want to sit in the back with my back to the wall. I want to be able to see the doors. I want to go to a restaurant. I want to be able to see, how do I get out of here? And things like that you did unconsciously and you never knew why.
Exactly.
And so anyway, I always
Which brings up another good point. Most of what we do is so unconscious.
Oh yeah.
We don't know why we're doing it. It's like an automatic behavior, like we're on autopilot and we don't even know.
And that's it. And I think that's
and there's plenty of things that are on autopilot that are great. Like you don't think about tying your shoes and how to drive down the road, and those unconscious those unconscious processes are working for us. It's only when we're feeling emotional pain around it that it's not working.
So and I got to ask this question. I'm sorry. I mean, no disrespect, but does hypnosis really work? I mean,
no, I've been faking it for about 10 years, John.
Cool, good job, yeah.
No, hypnosis is miraculous, and it's only as good, obviously, as the hands of the hypnotist that you're in, because you can hypnotize someone and have them do silly, fun, crazy things on stage, right? And that's not terribly therapeutic,
right? But
you can observe that, and
especially if it ends up on YouTube.
There's always going to be a skeptic or two. The whole thing's fake. They had the people planted. But when it's your best friend that gets up there and does that, or you see yourself on video later, you're like, oh, I guess it's real. So absolutely.
And they always ask for volunteers. So that, I think that's the first. You're weeding out people. Right?
Okay, so they ask for volunteers, and they want a lot more volunteers than they're usually going to wind up with, right?
So they'll take 20 if they're going to have 4 on stage.
They know that 25-30% of people are highly suggestible.
Right.
And if you are not, quote unquote, that good subject, they don't really want you on stage. And then they'll just gently, kindly say, hey, you can go back and join the audience and watch the show. So, yes, they do ask for volunteers. So it absolutely does work. And a lot of what I do does not require people getting into a deep level of hypnosis. I mean, as soon as you just let your guard down a little bit, if you're willing to close your eyes and imagine what I'm describing to you, then you're kind of in an informal state of hypnosis, and we can always get the job done.
So, I mean, hypnosis is really kind of a guided form of meditation in a sense.
It's kind of like a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So
Right.
I agree. Meditation, you're also trying to get down, or you are getting down to that alpha or theta brainwave state.
Right.
Hypnosis is the same thing. So I have,
But with hypnosis, you're being guided so that,
unless it's self-hypnosis,
well, that's true.
right?
Right.
So
Which is meditation.
which is meditation,
Yeah.
you know. Now, I like hypnosis approach better because in meditation, the goal is to what? Clear your mind,
Right.
right? Now, how easy is it for most people to clear their mind?
Almost impossible.
Almost impossible, right? Because it's like we have monkey mind, and you don't even realize how active it is till you sit down and try to clear it. You go, oh, what's going on? So hypnosis approach is just a little bit different. The idea is to clear the mind by filling the mind. Now, you're filling the mind with things that don't have any meaning or aren't emotional or, you know, harmful
Keeping
in
it
any
distracted.
way. So I have
in
a
a sense.
really, right, so you're concentrating on so many different things at one time. This is my approach with
Okay.
with teaching people self-hypnosis, is that you're concentrating on so many things at one time that you don't have room in your brain to think about those other things. You simply just can't. And so that process alone, it pushes out those other thoughts and then allows that relaxation to come in its place.
Okay.
So I have a really awesome self-hypnosis that I kind of put together. It's a combination of a couple different things that I found through the years, and my clients really, really love it. And I do guide it, but I tell them that the point of is to listen to it enough times to where you can just memorize these very simple steps, and then you can practice it anywhere. Eyes open, eyes closed. You can be sitting at your desk at work. You can be, somewhere where somebody's getting on your nerves or whatever. And
Wait,
you can
let me
just
write this down.
right. And then you just like, okay, but it's all about taking control of your own mind,
Gotcha.
which is really the only control we have at the end of the day, right?
So we believe. So what kind of issues should people come and see you for? Or what do you have a specialty?
Anything you
or-
haven't been able to beat so far. So, if anxiety, past trauma, motivation, sports performance, smoking, weight loss, the
Yeah.
usual stuff for hypnosis. It's I've had some
So
very
you-
interesting cases where people are like, you're kind of the last resort. They're like, okay, well, I guess I'll try hypnosis. Nothing else is work. I wish they didn't wait till
Right.
the end for that.
So if
I've
I
had-
wanted to improve my golf game.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So there's some, we would do a lot of NLP with that,
Right.
and change the way your brain, created its formula for success and visualizing things. And I usually like to, time permitting, because my sessions are very long, that discovery process. If somebody had sat with you for an hour and a half instead of just going, you doing okay?
Yeah.
Sleeping oh well?
Right.
It's easy just to kind of get those answers, right? But if somebody really sits down, gives you their full attention for a prolonged period of time, and they keep asking questions and they're probing deeper and deeper, at some point, you're going to let go of that defense and that pretending, right?
Right.
So,
Or you're never going to see that person again.
or you're never going to run for the hills.
Yeah, that's it. She's got my
Little too
number. I'm out of
personal.
here. Yeah.
So, time permitting, I do like to do at least a short recording at the end so that you have something to take home with you that you
Oh,
can
that's
listen
cool.
to.
Yeah. So you do an audio recording of it? Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. So,
Yeah.
and it just kind of reinforces what we did in the session. And
So I hear that you're starting a school.
I am.
Cool.
I'm so
And,
excited.
and this is going to be for to teach people how to do
what I do.
hypnosis or hypnotherapy? Or?
Right. It's going to be to be cheap, all of the above. So
Okay.
they'll lead the course being proficient in NLP and hypnosis and hypnotherapy.
Okay, so it's not just hypnosis, it is NLP, and you're going to have various courses, if you want to call
Well,
it that, or
it's
modalities?
kind of like it's going to be various modalities.
Got it,
Exactly.
okay.
So I'm going to teach them my
I
discovery
finally got a
process.
chance to use that word.
I love that word. So I'm going to, teach them my process of discovery and how to really get down to that issue for that person. And there's so many different ways to explain the mind. We haven't really even gotten into that very much today, but there's a lot of different ways that the mind creates issues and ways of explaining
tell me
the
about it,
mind.
yeah.
So, and then they'll learn a lot of different techniques for hypnosis, because what works for one client may not work for another, and it's just to make it fun for yourself. You want to
Right.
do something different,
Right.
and you'll learn a lot of different ways and find the one that you like the best and do the best. So many NLP, techniques that we'll cover as well. Get into the really deep regression work and how to handle that very seamlessly, very smoothly, and gracefully, because I've experienced some regressions that were a bit jarring to the system, and this is very smooth and easy. It's completely comprehensive. They will leave having everything that they need to become a hypnotherapist and change careers if that's what they want to do. Add it to their coaching practice, add it to their therapy practice, whatever that is. They'll have everything they
And
need.
I was just going to ask, what kind of person would benefit from this school?
Well-
and how long is the school?
Great question. Thank you so much. So I can tell you who I was when I discovered it. So I was a nurse, and I didn't have that much job satisfaction anymore. It kind of beats people down. I'm sure you've heard of burnout in the
Yes.
nursing profession. And I discovered NLP. I think I was actually in the middle of a midlife crisis, but I hadn't identified it as that yet. And I was probably having semi-nervous breakdown as well. And I thought I was going there to learn these great techniques to help my son and help other people that I knew, might need my help. And of course, I discovered that I was the one with the issues, and I was just a hot mess. And it was completely transformative for me personally. And I fell in love with NLP. I fell in love with hypnosis. There was no turning back. There was nothing else for me. Like, it's so amazing. It never ends. You can always learn more. I love it.
So while
And-
you were going through this, were you still practicing nursing?
I was. So I had 2 children, and I needed that steady income at the time, and I wasn't quite ready to make that leap.
Right.
So I did it part-time for a while, and then I transitioned into doing it full-time. And
Do you feel that this helped you in your job as a nurse?
you know what? I think as a nurse, I was already kind of a natural at a lot of this stuff, as far
Okay.
as communicating with patients and building
Which
rapport.
is why it spoke to you.
Probably. In the ER, you have, the little granny, and then you have the homeless person, and you have the psych patient. And I was just kind of a natural at adapting myself to make them feel comfortable and speak to them in their language. So that may be just why I was drawn to this partly. So it's for anyone who would like to, maybe they don't have the job satisfaction that they want, and they're looking for something completely new and different, a way that's going to be interesting, fun, really change people's lives. We need people to be healthy. We need people to be whole. We need people to be able to be whole with themselves first, and then help others achieve that, because there's a lot of things about our world that are kind of broken right now.
Absolutely.
And people are either falling apart openly, or maybe they're just like carrying that around with them, like you said that you were for so
Right.
long. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can actually be happy. We can actually have peace within. And so anybody that wants a new career, and if you already have a coaching business, but you really want to just not only coach their conscious mind into those habits and practices, but get their subconscious mind on board so that it really amplifies and accelerates those results. And even therapists. I studied with a lovely gentleman from South Africa who was a psychologist, and he said the little bit of hypnosis that he practiced with his clients, when he would ask them later, which session was it that really you felt like you broke through, and be like, it was that one where you hypnotized me.
Cool.
And so it really adds just a real nice depth of change and for those clients as well.
And so how long have you been doing this as your primary focus?
So I cut the umbilical cord of nursing about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And went full time.
And prior to that, how long had you been doing both?
I've been doing both for probably 7 or 8 years before that.
Gotcha.
So
you're not a newbie.
I'm not a newbie. I feel like I've definitely been in the trenches. Like I said, you get some very interesting cases, so you never get bored, trust me. And you never know what's going to walk through the door. And you have to figure everybody out. It's fascinating, it's interesting. And of course, you continue to just get better,
Yes.
and build your skill set. And I'm ready to teach now.
So what do you love most about what you're doing now?
What do I love most about teaching, or about the
whole
thing?
The whole thing.
Wow, I just love. It's almost selfish. I mean, I love the fact that I'm helping my clients, but I love just that satisfaction of like, I figured it out. I did really good. It's like,
Yeah. No. I
it's
get that.
like I said, it's always a puzzle and a riddle, and you're just like, wow, that's cool. Like I did, and it's just that personal satisfaction of knowing that you're always on your game, you're always giving 150% to every single client, and that you maybe figured something out that nobody else has figured out for them in 20 or 30 years. That's a lot of personal satisfaction.
Do you feel like this has helped you with your kids?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Although,
I know.
there's no profit in their own hometown.
Right.
So, your kids shouldn't be your clients.
Exactly.
And I have been able
But
to
I mean,
help
knowing
them.
knowing what you know, has it
Absolutely.
helped you in dealing with your kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then that starts to get into those spiritual realms as well, where you know
Exactly.
that everybody's on their own path,
Yes.
and they're learning their own
And
way,
I think that's
and
the
letting go of
hardest
that
thing.
control.
That's the hardest thing for us as parents to realize or admit
Mm-hmm.
that, hey, did the best I could,
Right, and to
Now
not
it's your
judge
turn.
yourself, and not lose your own sense of peace because they may be experiencing or choosing a difficult path in
Yeah.
the moment. But another really important piece with any type of therapy, I think, is just holding your client in that space of they're already whole, and that you know what's possible for them, and kind of seeing the truth of their perfection as a soul being, even though their behavior may look pretty pathological. Because all parts of our psyche have a positive intention,
Sure.
even the part that's biting our nails or drinking or smoking. It's wanting to feel happy or free or safe or secure or whatever that is. The intention's positive, even though the behavior may not be as positive. And just holding your clients in that space gives you good practice at holding your kids in that space. And even though right now it may not be reflecting everything that you would choose for them, not like my life's perfect either, right?
Yeah.
But just knowing that, trusting that it's going to work out.
So, do you find that you personally have learned more from your clients than your clients have learned from you?
Of course, yes. Well, consciously in particular, because when I'm helping them learn unconsciously. So if I'm really good at what
You're
I
paying
do, they don't
attention.
even know what happened. They
Right.
just know they feel better now.
Right.
It's not their job. They get to just have change with ease and flow and grace. And I'm always learning from them. But I primarily learned through my own changes, because I had so much personal transformation when I was the class guinea pig at my first course. And even if every penny I'd spent, which has been quite a lot, was only for my personal transformation, worth every cent,
Gotcha.
even if I didn't do this professionally.
So do you have people that you call them clients, or
I call them clients.
okay?
Yeah.
Do they come back on a regular basis for like booster shots, or if they're having
Occasionally.
Okay.
So, most people, I would say I do 3 sessions.
Okay.
Occasionally somebody's a one and done. If they come in for that simple
So this isn't
test anxiety or something
if
like
I
that.
come to see you, I'm going to have to spend the next 4 years in therapy.
No.
Okay.
I tell
That's
people,
what I was trying
if
to
you
get
haven't
at.
gotten results in 3 sessions, you should see someone else.
Right. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't mean that nobody comes back for a 4th or a 5th.
Right.
Occasionally they do. Most do not. Most do not need it. And then 6 months, a year down the road, they might say, hey, this other thing popped up. I want to come see you again.
Gotcha.
Exception rather than the rule. So
Right.
I'm always, I don't get that luxury of having repeat clients because it works and they get better and then they don't have to come back and see me.
Well, and see, and I think that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
That's very telling that, you don't have people that are just using you as a crutch.
No.
That they're coming in there and they walk away and they have achieved something or gotten some results.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I kind of figured that out early in my career. So I started off thinking I wanted to be a life coach and NLP practitioner. And I kind of discovered I don't want to be a family doctor that sees you all the time. I just kind of want to be a surgeon. I want to get in, fix it, get out. That's just my personality style. That's why I probably always did emergency medicine, like let's get it fixed and then, So that's just how I'm wired. So I like to just figure everything out, go in, make those big changes, and then we're done, And it doesn't mean that people can't benefit from ongoing coaching, absolutely, because that's where you're building in those life habits and patterns, and you need that raw person to make you be accountable to.
Right.
That's just not what I offer. I
Okay.
offer those deep, bigger changes quicker.
Cool. So you had mentioned before the show started, you told me that you had a special offer
I do.
for
So
people who watch the show.
I do. So if you go to my website, which if you're taking notes, it's belimitlesshypnosis.com. So that's belimitlesshypnosis.com. And I have a little video that I recorded just guiding you into that self-hypnosis, whether you want to call it mindfulness or self-hypnosis. It works really, really well. After I get you into that relaxed state, then I take you into your observer mind. So for those of you who've read Power of Now, I don't know if you, and he talks about the observer. This gives you an experience of your own observer self.
Cool.
It's pretty awesome. I have to give honorable mention to a gentleman who lives in Ireland named Warren Martin, and I met him through a Facebook group, just practicing hypnosis with each other. But he wrote this little observer script, and I was just like, that's genius. And I've been using it with my clients ever since. So you can listen to it, and then just, it's simple, super simple steps to guide yourself into self-hypnosis. You can memorize those, practice them anywhere, and just start living that life in that space where, yes, you may be upset or you may be feeling pressures of life, and you can also take that step back, even in the moment, within seconds, and be in that peaceful space and kind of have that higher perspective at the same time. It's a really, really lovely experience.
So how did you come up with Be Limitless Hypnosis?
True confession, after watching the movie Limitless,
Oh, okay.
and just, who's not fascinated with the idea of being limitless?
Oh, yeah. No,
And
that's
I
right.
truly, we know that limitlessness originates in the mind.
Right.
And all of the capacity of, that's what he did. He tapped into the power of his mind through this pill, but I know that we can tap into the power of our mind through hypnosis.
And yes, I agree with that, and I'll tell you the story after we finish here.
Okay.
But I'd like to thank everybody for coming back, and we love your support here at WWDB TV. And Serena, thank you. And I want to remind everybody again this Saturday over at Barnes & Noble on Rainbow, and I think it's over by the freeway. And anyway, I'll be doing a book signing over there.
You wrote a book?
No. But people buy their books there at Barnes & Noble. I got a little table, and as they're leaving, I will sign their book for them,
Oh.
regardless of what they buy. So, anyway.
I think I just suckered that one. I was
Yes.
See,
You
I bought that
were
hook,
the
line, and
perfect-
sinker.
You were the perfect straight person for that. Thank you. Anyway, thanks again, and we'll see you next week. And like I always say, if you're going to do it with Stiles. Bye now.
Bye.
Nice work, John.